So let's just work through each of the memory boxes. And we'll start with size. Should size be decreased? Well, our intuition says, of course, yes, it should go down to 5. But we can also see that in our invariance that it also rings true. So by changing from 6 to 5, we have, for example, that the position of the next item to be inserted is always going to be size. It'll be here now instead, so that if somebody does removeLast and then addLast 20, that 20 will appear here. Okay? We also need it so that size is always the number of items in the A list, and the last item in the list should always be in position size minus 1. In other words, if we remove last and change from size from 6 to 5, we'll see that the last item in the list is indeed in position 4, which is 5 minus 1, or 4. Okay? How about items? Should items change? Well, if items change, then we'll basically say I need to change these 64 bits so that this now points at a new, totally different array. There is no reason for that. Why would we need another array? Okay? Lastly, how about items I? That is, do we need to actually change this? Do we need to change this minus 1 to be, say, 0 or whatever? And if we look at our invariants, we see actually no. We don't really need to do that. As far as our invariants are concerned, we can just leave this minus 1 around. And I think the analogy is basically if someone does finger shoot this bird, it's okay to lower this bird and you don't actually have to destroy it. Okay? So that's all we need to change is size in order for things to work. Let's try it out. So now let's be the puppet masters of reality, and we'll do so as follows. So when you remove last, we need to delete the item and also return it. So I'll start by just setting aside the last item, right? I get the last item so that I can give it back out to the world later, and later I'm going to return X. But before I do that, I actually need to destroy the item. Now, as we just said, the only thing we actually need to do to destroy the item, the only way that we need to manipulate the little figure so that the outside world sees the shadows on the wall it expects, is to simply say size equals size minus 1. Could we also actually do something like items size equals 0? Yeah, won't hurt, but unnecessary. So we can save ourselves some effort by not destroying the bird once we lower it from in front of the fire. Okay? So this is the simplest possible remove last method. But there are other ways you could do it. So on this slide, I have an alternate version of remove last, where in this case, we actually think more about the bits or think more about the concrete reality by, instead of using get last, here I've said equals item size minus 1. Okay, so either approach is fine, though I find this approach slightly nicer. It just reads better. It's more narrative, but up to you. This line right here is wholly unnecessary, but maybe it strikes you as something you like. We definitely need to do size minus 1, and we need to return this item. So both of these are valid approaches, though I prefer the version I just did live, but I'm including this as an alternate solution.